Well, hello there. Funny to see you here again. You got some more chips? We're doing pretty well. Let's go check in on our friend Thane. Polarized. As I reclined in my seat, I had to wonder how I got to this point in my life. I mean, from a third-person perspective, looking in at me wasn't the most unreasonable position. Right now, all I was doing was relaxing at a table in a cafeteria. A reasonably nice cafeteria, too. The tables inside all had pretty comfy chairs, and there were nice decorations lining all the walls. Of course, sitting in a restaurant like this in the dead of night was a little atypical. Doing so with no staff in sight, doubly so. But, still not overly odd. Then you factor in the people I was sitting with. Yi, who was passively sharpening his knife. Zhouji, eagerly typing along on his phone. Alright, now we were entering the slightly weird territory. But still manageable. Definitely manageable. It only became truly bizarre when you learned the context that we were waiting for. The context that we were waiting to ambush the store owner when they arrived. Okay, maybe bizarre wouldn't be the first word that comes to mind hearing that. But it fits, I'd say. It certainly wasn't normal. We're really getting into crime, aren't we? It makes me wonder if there's a certain credence to the people who were theorizing that, hey, maybe we got this theory backwards, and the Thane we see in Mercury's story is actually the Thane that killed the previous Thane and took over as Thane. And that's kind of sort of why our friend Lara popped on board the Manjet too. But no, it became very clear in last video that Lara's investment in the Manjet and in feuding with Thane is very much personal as well as perhaps more so than professional. Involving that, in their feud, Thane captured and tortured probably to death someone close to Lara. Someone close to Lara, probably someone very important to Lara. And yeah, Lara's still a duo. She's still a duo. Still, in some degree, wants to take control. But also is incredibly pissed off. Understandable. It really is a nice place. Anyways, this situation. I mean, the meal I had last week. Mwah. Chef's kiss. That's why it kills me, that it's had to come to this. Why you can't fucking trust people. I always knew Milo was an asshole. Milo just had a different set of beliefs than us, and different values. It's commendable in most circumstances. Unfortunately, this isn't exactly a difference that can be reconciled. But it is a shame, though, it really is. Good restaurants are hard to come by, and it feels like they're shutting down every other week. Hell, it feels like we're shutting them down every other week. They don't put that on us. Not our fault people are so hesitant to play ball. Needless to say, between the meeting at the V-Hall and now, I was unable to come up with a reasonable way to get out of this event. I considered just not showing. After all, I had been seen at the meeting today. That should throw off the time of death, cause of death, but it was shallow. couple hours and a hollow appearance would be seen through pretty quickly once investigations really started. At the officers' meeting, only redoubled my suspicions that if I died, Marduk at the very least would want answers. If I bailed, they'd probably come down to the conclusion that the Thane they met was a fake before too long. I'd be in the same position as before. No, maybe after enough time had passed, I could abandon the Thane mantle. I could successfully pull off this ruse for long enough, and then vanish. That might actually throw them off for good. But a brief morning appearance? That was nothing. Well, it's not like my free time between the meeting and now was completely useless. I was able to hack into the other burner phone. Didn't know what I was expecting to find, but I was still surprised by its contents. For one, the phone was internally labeled V. Just V. That wasn't odd enough. The phone only had a single contact. The bastard. Oh. The only calls this phone had ever made were to and from the bastard. Pack, is that you? There were only a few calls, enough to count on a single hand. I couldn't get any other usable info off the phone. So it was still a pretty big question mark to me. Part of me wanted to try calling the number. Understand what I was missing about Thane. A far larger part of me realized that was a terrible, terrible idea that I should attempt under absolutely no circumstances. I mean, Jesus Christ, I was already pushing my luck an awful lot just sticking with forced meetings. Calling a complete stranger with no context for the vague promise of maybe learning more about Thane was a risk decidedly not worth taking. You know what your problem is, Thane. Oh, he was talking to me now. Shit. Awesome. Thanks. What? You're too much of a follower. If you want to get ahead, you need to be more than that. A leader? No, a free thinker. The way I see it, the world's survival of the smartest. Your power in this world is equal to how many good ideas you can come up with. It's certainly your power in this organization. Like, look, we want to know how I got to be a senior officer. Used to be having a slump with recruitment. The duats were getting a bad rap. We just had this big blowout war with the Shikome. Nobody wanted to join. Initiating people was risky. So what do? What do you do? There's a lot of troubled youths in Panthea. Ones that have turned to petty crime, to alcohol, to drugs. You know what these kids need in their life? The Lord. Yep. At this, Zouchi snickered. Zouchi snickered a lot. It was annoying. Luckily for all the concerned parents of Panthea, there was an option. A church outreach program for the troubled youths that would watch over their troubled teens and teach them the light. Perfect opportunity right there. Not the pastor to nix the whole God spiel, and instead teach the little brats how to operate as duat members. Oh, that's nice. Soon enough, I created an operation where troubled kids with criminal tendencies came to us. The parents were shipping them to us. All of a sudden, we were getting an influx of members from middle-class and even upper-class teens. This was a previously untapped market. With little ingenuity, I cracked it wide open for Marduk. Wow. That's completely morally bankrupt. That's despicable. Right. It's just one of a dozen ideas I cooked up that year alone. It's through constant innovation and diligence that you improve your station in life. Don't forget that. Understood? Uh-huh. Something tells me this lesson might go over your head. It's fine. You just do you. I was curious. This was something of a risk to my cover, but I'm curious, ye. Remind me, how exactly did you get wrapped up in the duats? You don't remember? Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever told you the full story. That's handy. You haven't. Huh. Alright, I'll fill you in. Not a particularly interesting story, though. You see, in a past life, I was actually an ethics professor. Oh, the irony. Got a pretty nice job teaching at a college outside of Panthea. So I left, set up shop there, and lived the nice life. And it was pretty good. For a time. Then came along this rival professor. And boy was that guy ever the asshole. Everybody hated him. None more so than myself. He was an offense to every belief I held. Plus, more and more rumors came out about improper conduct with some of the female students. Nothing ever stuck and he wasn't fired, probably because of the donations he had made to the place. I view the whole situation through quite different lenses now, but at the time I was younger and more idealistic. I couldn't stand for it. He needed to be punished, and for some reason, for me, I jumped to murder. Guess even before the Duat life, violence was something of a second nature for me. That escalated quickly. God, murder for no reason other than moral outrage. What was I thinking? The older you get, the more you hate your younger selves. Remember that. Make sure you keep that in mind. Stay humble. So you ended up murdering this guy? Yep. Had a pretty good plan worked out for it, too. This night where there were fireworks, I went into this one empty room and set up a super hard sniper trick shot. Oh yeah, I got my hands on a sniper rifle beforehand. Explosions cover the shots, and eventually I got a super tricky angle that hit a room on the complete other side of campus. What? I had this stand which kept the rifle completely in place where I left it. Put up this sign calling the room where the rifle was off limits. I had left the window of the target room open, and I replaced the wooden panels on the wall which had bullets in them in the dead of the night. I had a specific mark figured out. Then, this was the genius part, I deliberately got in an accident that broke my right arm. A few days later, I sent this anonymous threatening letter to the professor. Easy to push him around, get him to stand at the mark. I used my left hand to fire the rifle, and since the stand was firmly in place, I made the trick shot. Left the sniper rifle in that room, but disposed of the stand. When the ballistics report came in, the police would deduce the shooter came from that room. Actually hitting that shot would be super difficult, which you couldn't do with your right arm broken. Impossible for somebody who broke their dominant arm, and I had the medical records to prove that. Wow. How thorough. Right, I thought it was pretty clever. Unfortunately, it wasn't clever enough. I had a pretty piss-poor understanding of how murder investigations actually progressed. It was clear that the walls were starting to close in on me. I had no intent to spend the rest of my life incarcerated, so I fled back to Panthea. I couldn't just hide out here. I needed criminal backing to escape the law. I'd always known about the Duats. I went to them, explained the situation, and sold my own skill set, how I could be useful. So I was initiated into their ranks and started doing work right away. And in turn, the little murder investigation problem went away. 'Cause, you know, criminal organizations are pretty good at handling situations like that. And that's the story in full. Not particularly amazing or noble or anything, but that's life. Quite ignoble. Damn. To be honest, I didn't know how to react. It didn't really change how I felt about anything. It didn't make me feel angry at ye, or feel sympathy. I just heard it and thought, yeah, seems about right. Yeah, seems about right. That's my reaction too. Well, now I knew. Somehow I doubted this little anecdote would be a particularly effective bullet of information, but the more ammo, the better. Haven't heard that story for a minute, ye? Well, I don't like to revisit it that often. Kind of a bummer of a story. If our good friend Thane wants to know, then I'm happy to tell him any time. Besides, how else are we gonna kill time? Right? Like, Jesus Christ, how long is this gonna take? I don't like having to wait this long. Shaw was right to bail. Hey, the man was supposed to return 5 minutes ago. Don't blame me. Just then the door opened. Plain-looking man walked in, leaned over and turned on the lights. He didn't notice our presence till he turned back around. Then he jumped nearly a full foot in the air. Well, speak of the devil. Milo, what are you doing here? You... How'd you get in here? Gotta say, you don't have a bad set of locks here. Took me a solid couple of minutes to crack open the door. It's been a while since you showed your face back around here. I know you've been on the lam for a minute, trying to give us the old rope around. Guess you knew the shit you were in. How'd you know I was showing back up here tonight? We have our ways. Thought you knew that by now. Well, if you came back for as lame a reason as to get some of your belongings, then clearly not. Milo looked down. He couldn't meet Yi's gaze, so his eye twitched toward the door. Was he considering just trying to sprint away? Must have known he wouldn't get far. Perhaps he correctly suspected backup was waiting outside. Or perhaps he guessed that the three of us were armed. Right again. He was very clearly outmatched. The only path where he had a chance of getting out of this alive was to play along for now and hope for either mercy or a lucky chance. Decent survival instincts. I couldn't help but respect it. So, Milo, I think we ought to do a little chat. I don't have anything to say to you. Oh? Oh, is that right? That's a real shame. I had some questions I was just dying to get answers for. But of course, if you wanted to speed up the schedule, all the same for me. What do you want to know? I'm just curious, completely for my own sake, whether or not you were aware of a basic rule of life up in Panthea. You don't try and snitch on the duots. If you do, there will be hell to pay. Go to the cops, testify against us, we make your life hell. We respect it more if you flat out attack us. But squealing? Capital offense. You're aware of that, right? I can't imagine any business owner in your position could be ignorant of that. But maybe it's possible. If you weren't aware of that, well then, punishing you for a rule break you weren't even aware of is downright unfair. Look, that's why there's rules, understand? So that you think before you break them. Does Terry Pratchett count as philosophy? Zouchi, how the fuck did you know that was a Terry Pratchett quote? You recommended his books. You actually listened to my recommendations? Of course. If I did, I wouldn't have asked for the recommendation. Oh, how sweet. Milo. Right. So what is it, Milo? Ignorant or rebellious? Of course I fucking knew. Well, time to die. It's how you people get away with walking all over us all. Alright. So you actually knew what would happen if you squealed. Interesting. I don't know the answer I expected, honestly. Then if you were aware of the rule, why did you call the cops? Did you actually have faith that they were going to do anything about it? Damn right I had faith in the police. Why are you acting as though that was a foolish impulse? Oh, Milo, you sweet summer child. The police don't actually care about protecting you from us. Criminals can't just do whatever they want. There are laws. Laws, huh? Good people don't need laws to tell them to act responsibly. And bad people will find ways around the law. I'm sort of happy, in a weird way, that we found a guy who actually thought the police are still able to touch us in this day and age. It's like fighting a four-leaf clover. But even if your accusations stuck, it wouldn't have changed things. Another wing still would have made sure the rule stood firm. At the very least, the three of you would be in jail. Ha! Say wanted to strike at us, fully aware of the retaliation you'll receive. I like it. Nostalgic. Did you guys even do it? You seem genuinely taken aback by this statement. Oh ho? What's this? You. The one who so confidently and severely made accusations against my very character are now no longer sure of my guilt. I thought you would have bet your life on the fact that we were the scum of the earth. What's brought on this sudden change of heart? All common sense tells me it had to be your gang. When the police came in, they proved that it was impossible. Even that private investigator lady. She couldn't find a way that you could do it. Oh. Are we getting a hint at a future Laverna story? So you're ignoring your feelings toward us and actually acquiescing to the evidence. My. It takes an awful big man to do that. He paused, then leaned in slightly. But for the record, we did steal your little heirloom. Ooh! That was a surprisingly well-timed musical stinger. Milo's face was instantly awash with surprise and frustration. You! It's making a lovely little addition to our man cave. Quite pretty, right, guys? Totally brings the room together. I can see why you liked it so much. Though liking it enough to go and waste your life like this seems a lot. Fuck! How? How'd you get away with it? Oh, come on, man. A magician never reveals their secrets. It's way more fun to leave you in suspense. Let's just say, the way we got away with it is the reason you'll never be able to touch us. The police hid evidence. Because for every brave little dipshit like you, there's a dozen smart cowards that know how to bow to power. At this point, Milo just looked defeated. The chance to catch the criminals was, in fact, right in front of him. They got away just by the virtue of being a bit cleverer than anyone else. I couldn't say I wasn't a little disappointed myself. Instinctively, I tried to hide that from my face, until I realized that my face wasn't being observed. No need to hide anything. My facial expressions could root against the duods all they wanted in here. That about wraps up my questions. Oh. One more actually, just a nice quickie for you. What? Got any final words? Anything deep in your heart you need to let out? Maybe a desperate plea? Good reason to keep you around? If you earnestly ask for forgiveness, I'll actually consider it, I promise. I truly have a distaste for spilling needless blood. Milo just stood there in silence. Looked like he had something to say, but just couldn't get it out. He opted to just stand there, staring. Till finally, when it looked like he was about to say something, he shouted out, "Fuck you! Fuck your whole crew! Every single one of you deserves to die a painful death! That day's coming. You may not realize it, but people like you never get away for long enough. Call it naive or illogical or foolish or whatever you want, but there is a thing called karma in this world. Before long, it's gonna swing down and crush your whole group. When that happens, I hope your last thoughts are to flash back to this moment, to realize I was right." He looked back at me and Zouchi, feigning surprise on his face. Wow. Scary. Then, very slowly, he took a cigarette and a lighter out of his pocket, lit the cigarette and took a long puff. Guess we'll have to see. In the afterlife, let's meet up and discuss. Alright, enough fooling around. He turned over to me. Thane, he's all yours. If you wouldn't mind, handle things back in the employee area, would you? Like I said, I don't like watching violence. Especially not when I'm having a good smoke. Wow, was I dumb? It took me this long to realize the very obvious. I was here for a job. This guy had broken the code and had me punished. Thane was the Punisher. I was the Punisher. With my own hands, I'd have to. I had to steady myself. My facial composure was shot, but even my body was beginning to shake. Not here. I couldn't unravel here. For now, the first thing to do would be to separate from the others. That would at least give me space to breathe. Game time. It was Thane, the shadow of Panthea. It was to be feared. I nodded my head over to the employee area. You heard him. Get walking. Why should I? You're just gonna kill me, right? Fucking Milo. Work with me. Knowing Thane, a response he'd give would be, your question shouldn't be whether or not you're dying tonight. That question is decided. You should be instead wondering how long I'll make you suffer before I let you die. That did the trick. Instantly, his face flushed. I almost expected to hear Zouchi snicker again, but I heard nothing from him. Wonder if I even intimidated him. Nice. If so, good on me. Wordlessly, Milo walked past the tables and over to the door leading into the aforementioned employee area. Without looking back, I followed him in. As soon as we got there, I closed the door. Didn't want Yi or Zouchi seeing or hearing anything that was about to happen. Milo just stood in the center of the room now. Couldn't look me in the eye. Well, Visor, get on your knees. Wordlessly, Milo complied. Ever since he saw us, fear and anger had been battling out within him. So far, anger has seemingly had the edge, but my last comment probably tipped the scales back in fear's favor. I took out the pistol I had brought with me. I was wise enough to bring it to an event like this. Duat business was armed business. Now then, what did I have to say to this man? What did I want to hear? Tell me, why shouldn't I kill you? What? Give me a reason. Any reason for me not to pull the trigger and blow your brains out right here and now. I'm asking you to just give me something. I don't have anything to offer to the Duats. I'm not asking for the Duats. I'm asking for myself. Please, just person to person, explain it to me. You're telling me to beg for my life. I'm asking you to convince me. Begging you, practically. I don't know what to say. Your mind's made up, right? Definitely have to die tonight. Dude, you're not making this easy for me. Oh, I'm sorry, because I care so much about making things easy for you. Specifically not murdering you? Yeah, I think it was in your interest to make that aspect easy for me. I know you. Huh? Not like literally, but I know who you are. You've got a lot of demons in you. You committed a lot of sins. I'm not gonna say that you can necessarily wash all of them off. But deep down, you don't want to kill me. If you did, you wouldn't be asking me to try and convince you otherwise. So if you don't want to kill me, and you still do, it's gonna stick with you. You can try to repress it, you can try to ignore it, but it'll still haunt you. Never be able to truly wash it away. I'd just be some random old man. I might mean nothing to you, but even you'll see my face in your dreams from now until the day you die. The way I see it, nothing's forcing you to kill me. I pose no threat to you. The only thing killing me would accomplish would be to send a message. Apparently everyone else in Panthea has heard that message loud and clear already. So you don't need to do this. Fuck. Why'd I ask him that? What was the point? Only served to torture myself. Maybe I was a masochist deep down. That seemed like a reasonable explanation for why I kept doing things like this. Wasn't get out for this. Who was? This was a job for psychopaths. And now with my back to the wall, I had to kill an innocent man. Belligerent man, to be sure. One that had brought this on himself. But certainly not somebody who deserved to die. Because this stupid situation, I had to murder this guy. Well, it's not like this would be the first person I killed. Murderer is defined as someone who murders. By that definition, I was already a murderer, and nothing could change that. In for a penny, in for a pound? But this was different. Way different. Or was it? In a way, this was a form of self-defense. I refused to kill him. Doubtless I'd be found out and murdered. Him or me, one of us has to die tonight. If I had any chance of getting him out alive, then sure, maybe I'd have an obligation to do something. In that scenario, deciding to still kill him would definitely be a sin. But as it stands, my defiance was worthless. So I should be fine to kill him, right? This wasn't being a bad person, this was understandable, it was the only choice, right? There was absolutely no way to save him. So I could just put up my gun and... Fuck. Walked over to a nearby wall and started slamming my fist into it. It's exceedingly rare that I'd lash out in rage like this, but this was a rare occurrence when it was worth it. Besides, it had the added benefit of making a lot of noise. Maybe he would think I was beating him up or something. Milo just looked confused at this display. Fuck me. God damn it, why did I have to always think things through? Why did I have to notice things? Fucking goddamn it, fine. I'd totally shoot myself in the foot for this stranger. You win, conscience. God, I was irate. Turned over to Milo and started speaking in a hushed tone. Listen here, you little shit, and you listen good. I'm only gonna say this once. Okay? I don't want an okay. I want an okay. Okay. Moment, I'm gonna help you up so that you can scamper out and out through that window behind me. Turned around and pointed at the window in question. It was high and small, but it'd have to do. After that, you're gonna scurry on out of the alley and go far, far away. I don't mean in the city, I mean in the country. You don't show your face anywhere near Panthea. Not now, not 5 years from now. As far as you're concerned, you're no longer Milo. You're someone else. Pick a fun name. I've heard Bishop in style. And you thank your fucking lucky stars that I'm the person who walked into this room to do the deed tonight instead of anybody else. You hear me? I hear you. Totally. I 100% get you. I don't get why you're doing this for me. Yeah, that makes two of us. With another word, I pulled out my pistol. Time to put this thing to some use. Pulled the trigger and aimed it at Milo's shoulder. If we could understand what was happening, I pulled the trigger. Whoa, that was a lot of recoil. Milo screamed incredibly loudly. He was in a lot of pain. Fuck! Ah! Immediately, I got to work. Thrashed, I took his shirt off of him. Then I began to wrap it around the wound. I was far from a doctor, so it was a pretty shoddy job. He did a decent enough job of keeping blood inside his body. I'd have to get this checked out more thoroughly at a later date. But that wasn't my problem. I'd already done this man enough favors. What the fuck? I thought you were letting me go. Quiet! Applied a little pressure to the wound, and he shouted out again. I just needed to hear you scream a little bit. Needed to hear a gunshot. There needs to be blood here. In other words, you had to be shot here tonight. Oh, damn it. Hurts like a motherfucker. Easy. Calm down. Actually, don't. I've heard adrenaline helps numb things. Was this really necessary? That ungrateful tone better not mean you're questioning me. Would you have preferred I'd gone with the first option? Still, you could have given me some heads up. I fail to see how that would have made this situation any better for you. Anyways, we can't afford to waste any more time. Time to get you out of here. Milo didn't feel like arguing with that. It clearly took quite a bit of effort, but Milo made his way next to the window. I bent down in front of it and put my hands out. A lot of effort, I boosted him up. Really tend to underestimate how much a human weighs. Turns out they weigh a fucking lot. Still managed to get him to the window. A moment later, I heard a thud. Dropped to the other side. Well, Godspeed now. The rest is out of my hands. I did my duty, at least. Fucking went above the call, I'd say. I'd be in some shit later on, but I think I could buy a surprising amount of time. If I knew the do-what's right. It was a gamble, all right. But to save a life, I think you should be prepared to gamble. All right, then. Now to seal the deal. Lifted my pistol and aimed at the ground. Kill shot. I holstered the pistol again. I walked out the door. Confidence. He looked at me casually. So, how'd it go? How do you think? Hey now, don't need to be snippy. Never hurts asking. Any day could be the day you make a dumb mistake. As robotic as you try to be, remember that you're still flesh and blood under that mask of yours. Every human on Earth, no matter how carefully they try to avoid it, is owed a cosmic smack on the back of the head in the form of a critical mistake. I handled things. Are you happy? Can't say I'm happy. Jesus, Thane, we just killed a man. What sort of devil do you think of me? The murder hasn't stopped your smoke break. Yeah, well, even if someone died, what's the use of wasting a perfectly good cig? Now that would be a sin. You really gotta fucking knock it off with those cigarettes, ye. Thought you were smarter than that. That's so. Zouchi, I don't criticize your vices. Show me the same respect. Just trying to be responsible for once. Anyways, want to go in there and clean things up? There's no need. See, Thane? This is what I like about you. You're a professional. You know this shit already. Thank God. Zouchi, this is all about sending a message. We're specifically not making it look like an accident or disappearing the body with an ocean barrier. People have to know what happens when they go to the cops. Rumors about Milo trying to get us all arrested have already spread. If they find his violently murdered body, those rumors will also spread. Sure, that will also put police suspicions on us. We've already handled things. They had a scrap of evidence that can be used to place us at this murder scene. And even if they know this was a duat bullet, for all they know, we sent some lower-level grunts to do this as an initiation. In other words, no need to hide our handiwork. Alright, geez, I got it in the first sentence or two. Need to break into a whole lecture about it. Ah, sorry. Must be my teacher instincts snapping back into gear. Well, I for one loved hearing that explanation. Couldn't describe how much of a relief it was to hear that my reasoning had been spot on. It was a pretty fucking big risk if I said so myself. If he even felt like giving the body once-over, I'd be mincemeat. But I took a risk to save a life, and the risk paid off. So can we go now? Got a hot date waiting for me. Now, Zouchi, there's no need to make up lies. Saying you're bored is a perfectly adequate excuse. You fucker! You could be rotten in hell, you know? I thought it was perfectly clear that all of us were destined there. Anyways, yeah, nothing left for us here. Let's turn off the lights and get moving. Began to exit the venue. It was right at this moment Fang entered the store. Huh? As soon as I saw him, saw what he was holding, my stomach fell 3 feet. Oh no! Fuck! Felt the ground rushing up at me. Stay still, stay normal, stay grounded. But I found scrounging about in the alley. Oh! Well. Uh-oh. In Fang's oversized head, Milo was hanging by the scruff, biting his tongue from screaming out in pain. He had a nasty-looking bruise over his right eye. God fucking damn it. Just my luck that I had to let a goddamn moron try and run free. Well, shooting him couldn't have helped. Should I have told him about Fang? No, but Fang was nowhere near the alley. If you were trying to avoid attention, you'd never run out into the front. There are windows. The only way he could get caught was if he was loud and slow. Sounded like Milo, all right. Could feel the room closing in on me. My streak of benevolence had completely whiffed, and now I was going to have to pay up. No, I couldn't give in yet. I just have to play this carefully. Very carefully. He squinted at this arrival. First disbelief, then irritation, then back to disbelief. Huh. Good catch, Fang. That reason we kept you outside. Well. What in the 9 hells do we have here? A dead man walking. Well, you could hardly call him walking. In fact, you do look pretty beat up, buddy. But noticeably not dead. Mind explaining what happened? Now, Thane, let the man speak. You can have your turn in a minute. Fuck. Milo shuddered, but remained silent. He kicked him in the stomach, and he started coughing violently. How'd you get out alive, Milo? I don't like violence, but I'm pretty fucking good at it. It's not my fault. Huh. That's pretty obvious. No one would ever call somebody surviving certain death that person's fault. It's also not an explanation. It was Thane. Oh, you little shit. Wow, he's squealing like a fucking... Oh boy. He shot me in the arm because he wanted to make it look believable. Then he helped me out over the window. Said he wanted to help me. Help me fake my death, get out alive. I didn't have a choice. It's either this or be killed. What did you expect from me? Your boy here said to run, I ran. That's it. That's all. Well, now you're definitely dead. That's all that happened. Please, could you tell Fang to stop holding me like this? It really hurts. Ah! He noticeably didn't tell Fang to let him down or make him more comfortable. Instead, he just digested those words. Wow. He just stood there, looking over Milo. And he let out a little chuckle. Milo? Dear Milo. Of course, you did nothing wrong in that situation. You just did what you were told. I wish you had that skill earlier, before it came to all this ugliness. I'm afraid I can't accommodate your request for Fang to let you go. Safety concerns and all. Wouldn't want you getting away again, right? But we'll get to you in a moment. For now, he turned over to me. Oh fuck, he was pissed. He was smiling, but he was very clearly super duper not even joking pissed. I had to stand firm. Thane was an emotionless robot. For Zouchi's part, he just looked between the two of us with a worried expression. He clearly wasn't expecting a fight to break out like this. Fang stood emotionless. Shocker, that. So, Thane, you're gonna tell me that was all... You're gonna tell me that all that was a crock of shit? That you thought you killed him, he somehow survived the wound, and escaped after you left? No. Everything he said was accurate. Oh, okay. Then was what I just said the story you were going to try and spin us after we found out this fuck never died? My. Thane, Shadow of Panthea, senior officer of the Duat. Lets a pathetic little shit get away. Refuses to kill them. Isn't that out of character? Going soft there on me, buddy? Growing a bit of a heart? Aye. No, of course you wouldn't. That's not even believable. Boy, but if that's the case, then what's happened here? Why would you not kill him? Why would you try to lie to us? Could it possibly, maybe, I don't know, have something to do with undermining me? Thane? I thought we were friends. You're killing me here. I hate having to call your trust into question like this. But this, you better have a damn good explanation. I could see his hand drifting towards his knife. Zouchi and Fang were loyal to Yi. I couldn't survive if this turned into a fight. If things progressed how they've been going, a fight was definitely going to break out. Yi couldn't let a lie this big go unpunished. Deep breaths. The real me might back down, look to escape, maybe talk my way out. But I wasn't me. I was Thane. Thane was bold, unerring. He stood strong. I'd prepared myself for death several times today. I was going out, I was going to go out swinging. The one good way out that I could see involved the risk. I had a bet on some dynamics that haven't been yet made explicit. That was a bet I was willing to make. Watch your tone. The fuck? Who exactly do you think you're talking to? Took a single step towards Yi. Took a step back. That told me all I needed to know. I'm not. Don't think I didn't see you move your hand towards your knife. I'm too experienced a fighter to miss cues like that, Yi. You know that. What can I say? A nervous reflex. I think after all the time I've spent doing your errands, you've begun to forget what our relationship is. I am not your man. I am not Fang. I am not Zouchi. I am not Jia or Xia. I am your fellow senior officer. You are not to make moves against me. And you certainly are not going to be making accusations before even giving me so much as a chance to speak. Hey, whoa, Thane, what's with this hostility, buddy? You know what, you're right, I was coming on a little strong there. You know how I get when I'm confused, right? Look, absolutely no offense meant. I'm sorry if I came off that way. I was just surprised. Oh, thank Christ, it was working. Honestly, that was something of a coin flip in my eyes. All the info I'd gathered, I'd had a read on the situation. Thane used to be the leading senior officer. She went for becoming the next head of the Duats. Then something happened and Thane became on Marduk's shit list. He was tasked with a relatively risky and exhausting mantle of acting as the Shadow of Panthea. Hence the mask, the get-up, the whatever. As part of this deal, he was put under the supervision of Yi, whom Marduk possibly viewed as a more reasonable and cautious senior officer. Despite some resistance on his end, Thane ultimately worked with Yi and worked with him quite well. The two probably legitimately became somewhat close. Given Yi's dominant personality, Yi assumed the role of acting leader. Given Thane's stunted personality, he probably didn't resist too much. But beneath it all, the two were equals. No, Thane might even outrank Yi. Was my theory, at least. It seems like it was at least halfway correct. If you're done, I'll give you the explanation that you're owed. Please. I know it's a policy to kill traitors. When I entered the room, this one started making some interesting claims. Said they didn't feel bad about ratting us out because from day one he had ill will towards us. However, that didn't mean he didn't fiercely stick to his values. And that got me curious. Decided it might be fun to run a little experiment. So I put on a show where I was smuggling him out. Obviously, with Fang standing guard outside and his injuries, he'd soon be caught and brought back in here. I wanted to see how he reacted at this point. If he really cared so much about these values of his, surely he'd respect that I had saved his life and keep my secret from me. Then took a few steps and leaned down, putting my face right next to Milo's. But he didn't. Now, did you? Guess that means he failed the test. Well, even if he passed, I probably would have had to kill him. I was willing to give him an out. My explanation hung in the air. Had I given it stumbling over my words in a weaker position, it would have sounded like a pathetic excuse. However, if I could sell it as a beast playing with his prey. Thane, my man, I know you're fucked up, but you really gotta tone stunts like these down. I thought it earlier, but Thane was truly an easy disguise to pull off. I mean, what if Fang here hadn't caught Milo? Weren't you banking on a lot here? I trust your man wouldn't be so utterly incompetent as to let a bleeding old fool get away. If he did, I'd just hunt him down myself. Been a while since I got to have fun like that. Damn. Thane, I said this before, but you really fucked up, you know? Throw him down, Fang. Wordlessly, Fang complied. Milo skidded a solid couple feet, shouting in pain the whole way. There, he started to get up. However, he paused in his tracks when he looked up to see me pointing my pistol right at his head. Immediately, he got to his knees. Please, please! Just give me another chance! You saved me once, you can do it again! Sorry, Milo, but that simply wasn't true. I already did my good deed. Gave you your out. It's your fault you weren't able to make the most of it. Anyways, at this point, it truly was futile to try anything else. Fang, Zhao-Chi, and Yi surrounded us, all armed, all better at gun combat than me. Convincing as I had been up until now, if I continued to avoid killing this guy for any longer, they'd see through my bluster and fill me with just as many holes as they put in Milo. Either two of us were dead, or one of us were. Besides, I didn't particularly feel like saving this shithead. He'd already proven himself obstinate and short-minded. Immediately turning on his savior the moment he suffered a bit of pain was the last straw. I lifted a pistol right to Milo's forehead. I saw his eyes open wide with recognition, and then... one shot, and he slumped to the floor. Just like that, I had taken another life. But I had probably secured my own, and that was what mattered. That was what mattered. Huh. After all that, just a shot to the head. Let him off pretty easy, huh? He also responded with no sense in playing with my food. I was this close. He'd remember that. He'd remember at all times what a psychopath I was playing. Not in the mood anymore. That response probably worked. The more I could shift focus toward Yi's blow-up, the more irritated Thane seemed about it, the less Yi was going to be willing to push me in the future. Part of me worried that this little confrontation was going to have longer-lasting implications for my relationship with Yi. It was kind of the only card I had available to me. Well, that sure was something. Guess our Milo's problem's been sorted out, though. You can say that again. So, can we go now? No. No, now Fang's fingerprints are on Milo's coat. That's evidence. Oh, good catch, Yi. That's what I'm here for. So what should we do? Luckily, I came prepared. Fang, could you hand over option D? Fang nodded and fished around in his coat's pocket. Yep, had a feeling that was coming. Moments later, he pulled out a small little metal container of lighter fluid. He handed it to Yi, who wasted no time pouring it all over Milo's splayed-out corpse. He made sure to thoroughly cover it. Alright, everybody take a step back. It's about to get hot in here. He took out his lighter, bent down and put it to the fluid. Immediately he jumped back as Milo's body lit ablaze. It took almost no time for the once recognizable human form to start to char. He was a person, and now he was unrecognizable. The fire burned so bright, but the body was so black. Hey Thane, you coming? He had put an arm on my shoulder. The others had flipped the lights off and were exiting the building. I was still stuck there, standing, watching the burning display. I didn't respond. I just stood and watched. The fire kept burning. Burning, burning, burning. Burning the person I killed away. The following few days, whenever I closed my eyes to fall asleep, I'd picture the burning. I could see it clearly. Well, Milo was right. I'd never notched a Thane's kill count, I guess. Milo was a bit of a fool, was only concerned with his own life in the end, but he was in fact right. Not bad, starting to look not bad. I wouldn't feel too bad if I were Thane. For a lot of other reasons, but also because that Milo guy was toast any way you sliced it. I mean, a guy like that. You really think he was going to navigate waters with a cool head aimed for survival? Nah, once the Duats set their eyes on Milo, he was toast. If Thane was really merciful, they would have just shot him in the head from the start. The faux escape attempt really was just playing with your food. But Milo bores me. Let's talk about something else. Take Yi, for instance, his little origin story. A college murder, eh? Not just a spur-of-the-moment thing, either. An elaborate plot with fireworks and timing and preparation and everything. The sort of caper you might see Laverna looking into. And all for the sake of justice, apparently. Never took Yi for that much of a righteous guy. Means that probably wasn't the real reason he went through so much trouble. More than likely, the man just got on his nerves. It was a personal hatred. I can get that. Right? I mean, imagine this. Spend a bunch of years with this person you cannot stand, and a total asshole. You do all these things that anyone would call awful, but, like, they're low-key. You sympathize with killing them. Bit of escalation here. Just a bit. No? Right. Of course not. Because you wanted to kill someone after experiencing them to be a dick for a couple of seconds while you read about it. A couple more while you think about it. You're a total psycho. The question is, how would you feel if you lived with that person for years? Every day, for hours, you had to deal with them. And would your answer change? I suspect it might. I want to throw them out, but killing them is a hell of a fucking escalation. It's not the moment you directly consider murder where that desire to kill grows. It's the quiet moments at night, nothing in your head but hatred. That little desire seeps in. That can't be emulated in 2 sentences. That's the thing about stories. Pretend like they're putting us in someone else's shoes, but they're not. Not really. I can never fully do that, I suppose. It's called walking a mile in someone else's shoes, not a couple of feet. Stories merely provide a tourist-like diversion from people's everyday lives. They can get people to consider other points of view, but to truly empathize with a story. No, there's only one way for that to happen. You have to be drawing on real experience. I guess, in that vein, I can relate to that. In that we might only take a brief tour through people's lives. Stories like this, games like this, but... Now we're getting the bronze locks. Looking through our choices here. But where we end up truly empathizing with stories is when we draw connections between the stories we read, play and our own personal lives. That's what really forms that connection. I can't exactly speak on the imminent desire to murder someone. After living with someone with seemingly micro characteristics that you absolutely hate for years, murder is a hell of an escalation. Punch them in the face, maybe. Like, take everything she said about murder and fantasizing about it in the quiet moments in the middle of the night, and replace that with the punching you in the face. Punching them in the face. Then maybe I could relate with that. Had moments like that, but murder is a hell of a fucking escalation. And if you're legitimately feeling like that, if like that factoid is something that you've fantasized about, then you've got bigger problems that you really need to see professional help on. That's a bit much easy. That's a bit much easy. That's a bit much. Bit of a stretch. Punch them in the face? Smack them? Yes. Murder? No.